Okay, so a while back, Netflix said they'll spend $500 million making movies and TV shows in Canada. The first show to come out of that was North of North, made with the CBC, that came out earlier this year. Their latest is just out now. It's a show called Wayward, made by comedian Mae Martin. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. To talk about Wayward, Niko Stratis is here, Rachel Ho is here. Hello to both of you.
Hello.
It's nice to see you. It's nice to see both of you. Listen, okay, let's talk about Wayward. Wayward, in Wayward, Mae plays a cop who moves to a small town that has a school for troubled teens. And as you can imagine, with all TV shows, not everything in the town is maybe as it seems. Niko, what do people need to know about the story of Wayward?
The year is 2003.
Big year.
Speaker box, The Love Below is on everybody's car stereos. It is very much that. It is this sort of mysterious town. Mae Martin plays Alex, who's a trans man who's moving into this town to become a cop. His wife is Laura, who is pregnant. You get the sense that Laura is from this place, and you sort of immediately get the sense of, yeah, something is up. There is something happening to the younger people, especially of this town, that is sort of some sort of behavior control, we can say. And there is sort of a large cult-like figure at the head of it all.
And that is played by Toni Collette. And if I was going to put a large cult-like figure at the center of anything, it would in fact be Toni Collette, just like the person, let alone, the person she plays in the show, Evelyn. Rachel, this series is Mae Martin's baby, right? They created the show, they directed, they wrote some episodes, they star in it. And the thing about Mae is that, I know them for being a comedian. And so when I started watching the show, I was like, I'm here for a nice time, a nice vibe. I'm going to laugh a little bit. It's not that. It is a thriller. It is horror vibes all the way through. Did that surprise you?
Absolutely. This is my problem. I don't read the description of things that I'm.
Same here.
I just go in and I just watch
play.
it. And I go,
yeah,
exactly. And so you think, and I went, this is funny, because I just assumed it was a comedy, and I'm laughing at things that are not actually funny. And then after a while, at the end of the first episode, I went, I really don't think that this is a comedy. And then I actually went to go check it, and I went, oh, it's not meant to be a comedy in the slightest.
No.
I thought it was comedy with horror vibes, but it's not. And I love it. I love that they're kind of branching out and doing something like this, because clearly then it just means they really love horror and they really wanted to extend themselves artistically. So I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's amazing when we can see people who we know very well, especially us in Canada, we know Mae Martin as a comedian. And in the UK as well, they know her as a comedian, right? Like they're a comedian. And I think it's wonderful when they are able to just, I don't know, do something a little bit different, something that they're maybe, I don't want to say more passionate about, but they're also passionate about.
Yeah, the fact that Mae has this gear is incredible to me, because, again, I agree with you. Sort of you start to watch it for a little bit of a go, well, that's Mae Martin. That's my pal, Mae Martin. I'm used to them making me laugh. And by the time you get to the end of the pilot, you're like, oh, my laughs were misplaced, perhaps. I was not invited to laugh at all. I was invited to cover my face in horror. Niko, Mae uses they, them pronouns, but the character they play in the show, Alex, is a cop who uses he, him pronouns. And what I found really fascinating about the show is the way that sort of the transness of Alex is played incredibly subtly. It's not, it's not ever sort of mentioned directly. Instead, it's implied. I just want to play this clip right here.
So, the chief told me about what went down in Detroit.
Yeah, I wanted to, so that was a high-stress situation, and my response was not ideal, but by no means excessive force. And I'm glad that you brought it up, actually.
Hey. You don't gotta explain yourself to me. You seem like a good dude doing the job for the right reasons. Colleague should have backed you up.
Yeah. I guess they didn't really see me as part of the Brotherhood.
Well, screw 'em. Brotherhood's a state of mind.
Yeah. I like that.
Brotherhood is a state of mind. Niko, can you talk a little bit more about the way that the show treats the character of Alex?
Just listening to that again, the mad scramble when you think somebody is calling you out for doing something wrong, and also you are navigating your transness with somebody who isn't trans feels very real. For me as a trans person, there's lots of these little subtle things that happen in the show where I'm right, I have been there. This thing of not just looking for this sort of connection to a masculine environment where you can sort of feel, where Alex can sort of feel affirmed in this masculinity, but also there's the scene in the station where he meets the captain, and the captain pauses before he says him when he's referring to Alex with his pronouns, and it's like, yeah, right. Who hasn't been there? I've been home for a week in the Yukon, and that has happened to me like 6,000 times by people that know me because they're like, right, I don't want to screw this up, and it's this very subtle thing. And then there's also, you know, like Alex is talking about like how his stubble hasn't come in and should he up his dosage, and there's these subtle nods to trans life and things that are very real, and it never really sort of bonks you over the head with it, but it does make it an integral part of Alex's character, which I think is very important. Like, if your character is going to be trans, they should be trans in a way that feels, you know, lived in and real, that other trans people can be like, yeah, been there. Like, I also want my hormones to be doing things that they're not right now, and I feel out of my body because of it, and the only person I can talk to is the one person I feel safe talking to.
The thing that you just mentioned there is a really important distinction, though. You're talking about like a character that feels lived in, and so those details matter. But in terms of the plot of the show, that Alex's transness is not a plot point in the show at all. Like, it's a sort of a part of like how you encounter Alex and the life that they live, right? The life that this person lives. But there's the show itself does not hinge on their transness, which shouldn't feel novel, but it really kind of does in a way. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed this year, especially people are talking about trans people. I don't know if anybody's noticed that we've kind of been everywhere except for like the people actually having the conversations, you know?
I have noticed.
Which is a classic thing for trans people. We are always the subject, rarely the voice, as I wrote a number of years ago, and I think that has sadly gotten worse. But I also like this idea that, like, you know, when underrepresented, you know, community is put into media, often the easy way is to make it safe or to make it look affirming or to make it feel, you know, like, oh, here's this beautiful thing. I'm like, but it still needs to have a little bit of an edge. It doesn't need to be paraded around as this, you know, like life affirming thing. I'm really struggling to find my words here because I want to sort of say it right. But I think that in order for trans people to be real, we need to be the voice and we need to be the subject, but also we don't have to be the safety scissors versions of ourselves. We should be allowed to have a little bit of an edge. There should be a blade there. There can be a hint of danger. If we're never allowed to have a hint of danger, we're never going to be real, because every other community of every other people gets to have a bit of danger or whimsy or fun or weirdness. And we so often aren't allowed to do those things because we're a political talking point more than we're real people. So in a show like this, I really appreciate that, like, Alex immediately isn't perfect, and that is like signified by his running mix is Brother Down by the Sam Roberts band. Okay. You know, like, which
I will not have Brother Down slander on the show. We're going to come back to that in just a moment, but yes, continue.
But I just like this idea that, like, he's not supposed to be perfect. He is allowed to be flawed, and I'm curious to see how that changes and grows. We know something happened in Detroit, but we don't know what. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, give me a trans character who is at least complicated.
Rachel, what about you? What did you think about the way that Alex's transness was woven into the story?
I'll be honest, I was not sure if Alex was meant to be trans. Like, some of these little hints, they honestly went right over my head, which I think speaks more to me than it does to Mae Martin or to Netflix, to be honest with you. But I kind of echo Niko's sentiments here. I really like that it wasn't the plot point. It is a major part of the character, sure, but it doesn't affect the story. And it reminds me a lot of, for myself, you know, Asian people in film and in television have always been perceived in a very specific way for a very long time. And then when a movie like Better Luck Tomorrow came out, people were kind of criticizing it, saying, well, how come these Asians are behaving poorly? Why are they behaving like with an edge, as Niko says? And Roger Ebert, of all people, was the one who said, why can't they? This is their movie, let them do what they want, kind of thing. Like, we are not a singular... We're not a monolith, right? We're not always
no community is a monolith.
Yeah, exactly. And so kind of what just listening to what Niko said there now, that's what it reminded me of. So I think it's wonderful that there is a series now that is just letting people exist as they are and having little bits of uniqueness, sure, but you know, it doesn't make or break the story. It is not the story either. And I think that that's really refreshing. Unfortunately refreshing, like it shouldn't be, but it is.
I'll tell you who is the story. The story is Toni Collette. She is the moment. Toni Collette plays the headmaster of Tall Pines. That's the Academy for Troubled Teens here. She's known for just being one of the best, you know, horror actors of our time. There's no one who can play just like I have a secret, but you may not know it. Better than Toni Collette, and of course, like she does that in Hereditary. Niko, what did you think of her in Wayward?
I mean, just immediately captivating. It's nice to have that one person as an anchor in a show like this who is ultimately like, immediately is the villain character, but you're like, I want you to be in every scene. I just you can't turn away, and just fills that role so perfectly that it really sells it. That is a really hard role to sell, and the wrong person in that position would not do it. And just right away, I was on board.
Mm-hmm. Rachel, what about you? Any standouts in the cast for you? It's a pretty big cast, so.
I love Toni Collette. I think that she's absolutely fantastic. But there is a young actor named Sydney Topliff who played Abby. I was obsessed with her during the whole series.
She's so good. She's so good.
She's so good. And it's a difficult role, I think, especially for a young actor to take on, because it's a dual role in many ways. On one side, they are this frustrated, wayward teen, if you will. And on the other side, though, they have a very soft, a very, very soft side to them. And that comes out in their friendship with Layla. And I just think it's not an easy role. It's a more complex role than I think typically a teen is given. And I think Sydney does an incredible job. So she really stood out for me.
No, truly, that Abby character is doing a lot in the show. And like as the show progresses, and I say this as someone who sat down to watch the pilot, and then I ended up watching 4 episodes in a row. That character is just doing so much. Niko, you mentioned Brother Down, which is very, very funny. Sam Roberts Band, I love that song. And the show is set in 2003. And then really is located that way, musically speaking, right? Like, so Alex goes jogging. He's playing Brother Down. The bro sort of high school boyfriend is blasting Our Lady Peace. Like, there's a sort of like a location in time and space in 2003. Tell me about how the music kind of helps build out the world of storytelling here.
Well, it reminds you that it is in Canada, because there is those CanCon drops. You mentioned Our Lady Peace. There's Sam Roberts Band. Thrush Hermit shows up, I believe, in the second episode. There's some Canadian music drops that sort of put it in a place and time and give it that little CanCon-ness. But it also just sort of creates this environment, right, of, so much of this, especially in the first episode, we're talking so much about the masculine energy of all these things. And there is a lot of, dude rock bands. Weezer shows up in there. I love when music is used as part of the show, not just in the running mix or playing in somebody's car. So often shows like this, the needle drops are just done in the background, but here it feels like an integral part of the storytelling of the world.
Yes.
It makes me really interested. I love when a show, I'm so excited to watch it, partially because I just want to know what other songs they're going to drop into it to give the world its setting. Once Thrush Hermit appeared, I was like, oh, all bets are off.
Anything could happen here. Absolutely. Sky Sweetenham could show up. Okay, Rachel, as I mentioned earlier, this series is a part of Netflix's big push, right, to invest in more original Canadian content. There's been some criticism, I think, about how committed they are, but that's for a whole other show, other conversation. Still, right, like with putting out the show, Netflix put out a press release talking about how this show was shot in Ontario, contributed millions to the Canadian economy. I'm curious if you can see the Canadian connection show up on screen as well.
For sure. I mean, they mentioned Vancouver, which
they did.
I think Canadians were very silly. We were like, oh my God, they said a Canadian silly. Like, wow, that's so amazing.
They shot Toronto pretty warmly in the pilot, I think.
They did. They did. Yeah. And it's shot, I think, North Bay. I could be wrong about that, but I know it's shot in other parts of Ontario as well. And it does look Canadian. It is meant to be in kind of New England-y territory, which
Vermont
kind of looks Canadian, very Canadian-y as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actors across the ensemble, so many Canadian actors that I had knew nothing about this show before I clicked on. So I was so surprised when, Sarah Gadon pops up, and then Patrick J. Adams comes in, Jay McLaren, we heard him in the clip earlier. Yeah. He's in, Joshua Close, Patrick Gallagher. I was so impressed with how many Canadians there were. And I had just seen Friends with Benefit, which is Sacha Lee Henry's movie. And 2 of the actors from that film are in this series as well. And so I was like, look how Canadian it is. And I think we're just really starved for Canadian content sometimes in Canada, which is, I suppose, in part kind of what we're hoping Netflix, Prime, everybody else jumps onto, because we do love it. And again, doesn't have to be a selling point that it is a Canadian, but it is fun for us, I think, when we see our own people up on screen.
I think like there's a real truth to that. Rachel, you've seen the whole show. Niko, you've started it. Is it a thing that you're gonna like sort of stick around with? You think you're gonna finish it all the way to the end?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how you could watch that first episode. I'd be like, okay, I don't need to know anymore. Like, I need to know more. I'm excited to go home and watch it at home. I really like that we can watch it and talk about it as a Canadian show and finally not use it's a Canadian thing as a pejorative. Like, that happens so often, right?
Yeah.
I think this show looks really fun and beautiful and weird and strange, and I'm so excited to see it all the way through.
Rachel, what about you? Is this the kind of, because you're between the three of us, you're the only one who's seen it all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Did it keep you all the way to the end?
It did keep me to the end. I got 5 episodes before TIFF started, and I went to go, and I actually went back and finished it. I know, no big deal.
Yeah.
Netflix sends me 5 episodes, but I actually ended up going back and finishing it, which I'll be honest, I don't do that all the time when they don't send you the first thing. So the fact that I went back, I think, says quite a bit. I'll be honest, not to damper the mood, it is very middling for me. I think it's a great show. I think it's entertaining. I would never tell someone don't waste your time with it. I think it's a good use of your time. Is it the best thing that I've seen this year? No, definitely not. But I would absolutely welcome a second season, though, because I think a show like this, sometimes they need to warm up a little bit. And I think that this is going to be one of those that I would gladly watch a season 2 of it. But yeah, it's middling, I'll say.
I'll tell you this. Sometimes the job for me is to sit down and watch the first couple of episodes of something in order to have a conversation with you guys about it. I sat down to watch the first episode, and I watched 4 in one go. And so that tells you that immediately after this conversation, I'm leaving the office right now to go finish the rest of the show. In the meantime, I appreciate both of you. You guys are the best. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Of course, Rachel Ho is a film editor for Exclaim. Niko Stratis is the creator of the Anxiety Shark newsletter and author of the recent book, The Dad Rock That Made Me a Woman. They're both based in Toronto, although they're currently not in Toronto. One is in New York, the other one's in Yukon. You can catch Tom's interview with Toni Collette on the Q podcast, and also you can stream Wayward, that is available right now on Netflix. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion.